How did I know that I grew up in a secular home? Well, one of the biggest ways, if the first thing that you saw when you walked into my house, anybody who knows me growing up, they're going, oh, I know exactly what she's gonna say. The first thing that you would see when you walked into my house was this giant 7-foot by 5-foot portrait of a topless woman in bed. First thing you saw. And as I got older to be in high school, people would be like, hey, is that you? The audacious people. And then I'd have to come up with some spartalic response to that. And the further you went into my house, the more you saw different types of art and all kinds of things. And in my teenage brother's rooms, you'd see like the cheap version, like the pinup. And so what does that communicate to a young girl, a young woman? Well, what's held up, what's esteemed, what's valued is a sensual woman. And so for me, I tried that. I tried to find attention, love, all kinds of things. I was looking for an everlasting love. And I genuinely thought that when you were hormones kicked in, like that's what everybody did. They just acted on those hormones. And so when I remember meeting Christians and they were like, I'm saving myself till marriage. And I was like, what does that even mean? I don't even know what you're talking about. Like, who does that? And so it wasn't until really that I got into college where I started to, somebody invited me to go through the book of John with them. And I learned that Jesus, because if I went to church with them and they're like, hey, Jen, here's all the things you have to quit to be part of our club. I was like, but I will never fit into that place. And so when I learned that Jesus said, like, I have come, so anybody who believes in me, anybody who believes in my name, I've given them the right to become children of God. Like, that's it. Nothing else was required. And what I had found trying to seek love in all these different ways is it never satisfied. And for any partner that I had, it was like, thank you, next. And so I didn't satisfy them. They didn't satisfy me. And what I was looking for, I could not find until I was introduced to the love of God. And then I was like, wait a minute. Actually, now I can see that everything I'm trying to get out of these relationships never satisfies. But this love, I can like stop performing. I can just be loved. And that was the kind of love that really started to change my life. One of the first scriptures that I memorized is in Hebrews 12, and it says, therefore, since we're surrounded by such a great cloud of witnesses, let us throw off everything that hinders and the sin that so easily entangles, so we can run with perseverance the race marked out for us. And so I knew, one of my friends said, hey, Jen, how come you're starting to give God all these parts of your life except for this part of how you handle your relationships with men? And I was like, you're right. And so I was in a long-term relationship, and I honestly just let us cut off all the sin that easily entangles. I just cut it off because I knew that the way that I was living inside of that just, it wasn't satisfying, and it wasn't the kind of love that I was ultimately looking for. And that was one of the first decisions to cut off some of the sin in my life and to really believe and receive the love of God that satisfies, that started to shift. And as I look back on how I was raised, it makes a lot of sense. And so if you can relate to that story, maybe you also grew up in a really sensual environment and you feel like I did, like God would never love a woman like me. Like, you have no idea where I'm from. Like, you have no idea what I've believed for so long about love and belonging. And even though I still love art, I believe that He created our bodies for good. But I believe that the everlasting, never giving up, there in the morning, there forever, no matter what, for you, will fight for you kind of love that I was looking for, I found it in Jesus. And He scatters our sin as far as the east is from the west. And it's as simple as just believing and receiving. That's it. And that was the kind of love that I was looking for in all the wrong places.